Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Lau with Kenshan Crafts. It's been a while, but this video is going to be about the San Francisco and DC Pen Show. Well, mostly the San Francisco Pen Show, but I didn't make a video for DC, so I will just be sharing a little bit on my experience there, and then mostly talking about the San Francisco Pen Show. I have decided that I'm going to be doing two different videos. So I will do my haul video first so that you guys can, just take a look at everything that I bought as well as, my experiences there. And then I'll just do another video with all the clips that I took at the San Francisco Pen Show. So if you are someone who likes to see everything that was at the show, I will make a separate video for you guys to peruse. I'll talk about the DC Pen Show and what I got there first. It was quite the amazing experience. It was my very first time at the DC Pen Show. So I was able to meet my wonderful co-host Carmen. We have the Pen Friends live pen show, or like podcast, we do every Thursday. But this coming Saturday, September the 13th, we will be hosting with a very special guest. So it is an unusual day because our guest is unable to make it during the weekday. So it'll be Saturday, and I will put the specific date on the screen here for you guys. So come to that Pen Friends live show. It'll be amazing. Again, it's a Saturday, so if you have nothing going on, I think it'll be a great time to just come chill, chat, do some journaling if you want. So yes, I met with Carmen, Tiff, Carmen's husband, Carlos, Freddie as well, and Mary Jo. So many people that are on the East Coast that I have not met in person before. It was just so amazing. I also met Layla from Pen Boutique. I think that it is a show that I'll probably go to again in the future. I'm not sure about next year, but definitely still on the list because it was quite an amazing show. Definitely not a show you want to just spend 4 hours at, which is what I had there. So DC is a huge show, much bigger than San Francisco, and you definitely need the whole weekend to really enjoy everything at a slower pace. I did everything so fast because I was mainly shopping for friends. So here is what happened. I got to DC Pen Show around 1:30 or 2 p.m. Raffles were going, and I think raffles started at 3:30, and 4 o'clock. That's usually the typical time for raffles. And I did not win one of the raffles at 3, which I think was a Leonardo raffle, and I did not win the Esterbrook one as well as the pilot one. So all 3 of those I didn't win, which is completely fine. Like I don't expect to win ever. But when we got to Tasha table, at that time I went to grab a raffle ticket, and Carmen and I, we were standing next to each other. We were just having a great time, being nervous, looking at our tickets. And so they called the first number. So because Tasha didn't have tickets earlier, at the time that I went, they got 2 different tickets. So their original one was, I believe, blue? No, the original one was red, and then the second one was blue. So the first ticket they called was red, and so when they said red, I was like, oh, it's not me. But Carmen had a red ticket, so I was hoping for her to win. And so when they called it, I wasn't really listening. I should have been listening because Carmen could have won. But I heard some people in the front, they were like, "Aw," like everybody was just like sad about something. And I was like, what's going on? The folks at Tasha were gonna pull another number. And so that's when I realized, oh, I guess the first person wasn't there. And so they pulled out another number, and then they said blue. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have blue. And then they called the last 4 numbers, and every single one of them was mine. And I was so shocked. I don't know. It was such a wild moment. Huge disbelief, just astounded. And so Carmen looked at the numbers on my ticket too. She's like, "Lau, you got it." Oh, bless her heart, Carmen. so happy that she was right there next to me, because I would have been just, I would not have known what to do. But yes, here is the pen that I won at DC by Tasha. It is the Aka Fuji, which means red Mount Fuji. This is the Palisades model, so it's got some spiraling facets. And it is Urushi and Makie. So this one, is definitely one of those pens that took a long time to make. And when I went up to the front to get this pen, like my mind was still in disbelief. And I believe it was Karina that handed this pen over to me. She was saying 2,395. And I was like, wait, is that my number? But no, she was telling me how much this pen is worth. So that is crazy. This Urushi pen is worth $2,400. And I was just beyond belief. And then it comes with a sailor nib, which, lo and behold, I love sailors. I love sailor nibs. Karina said, and this is Kari from Kari Bullet Journal on Instagram, and she said, "Are you okay with a broad nib?" I asked for medium fine because that's my typical sailor nib size, and they said, "No, we don't have medium fine, we have medium or fine." And so I was just like, you know what, let's try fine. I don't have a sailor fine, so I got this one in a sailor fine 18 karat, and it writes beautifully, so beautiful, immaculate. The feedback is just so nice. And you have to write lightly with a sailor fine because it is super fine, and it's just perfect for me. So yeah, super happy with this pen. My first Urushi, first Urushi pen, and I got it a giveaway. I got there last minute on Saturday, but I don't know what else to say. I'm just super grateful. So grateful to everybody that was there who congratulated me, cheered me on for winning this pen. And special thanks to Tasha and everyone working at the Tasha table. All right, so that was DC. Let's talk about the San Francisco Pen Show. So the San Francisco Pen Show, I met with my amazing friend, Freddie, and he is Pens and Ponderings on YouTube. So if you haven't followed him yet, go check his channel out. We met on Thursday, went to visit downtown San Francisco. We went to Japantown, just explored San Francisco a little bit, and then came back. So I know that I was going to be vendoring at Leonardo all weekend, so I will not have any time to have fun and sightsee. And then come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 3 days, I vendored at Leonardo, and what just another amazing time being there. I loved talking to everybody, and believe me, I enjoyed meeting every single one of you guys, all the new and old friends, and that was definitely my favorite part. But something that also was very lovely that happened, some very precious moments. So this one little kid, the San Francisco Pen Show has this little mini game where you have to find tables, specific tables, or tables that have specific things. This one kid, I think he was like 10, came up to the Leonardo table and asked me, "Hi, do you guys have pens that can do calligraphy?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's so sweet. We don't have those kinds of pens," but right over there, and I knew this guy because I talked with him earlier in the week. He was selling glass dip pens, and some of his glass dip pens were kind of chiseled in a way that you can do calligraphy with them. So it is still kind of calligraphy in its own way. And I said, "I'm sorry, we don't have those, but if you go over to that room right there, the very first table to the right, they have something that can do calligraphy, and you can have them sign off for you. So, and he was just so sweet. The little boy just went over there, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go check to make sure. So I went over to the table. It was a Hanabi Glass Studio, and it was Lucas. And so I went over there and I said, hey, Lucas, is there a little boy? And then I saw the little boy, and then I was just like, okay, great. And then another man came up to me, and he had a broken pen that he wanted to have looked at or fixed. And he said, I don't know what kind of pen this is, but I think it's Italian. So I thought that maybe you guys, you know, being Leonardo, might be able to help me. And I was just like, sure, yes, of course. And I looked at his pen, and, you know, it was a very strange looking pen, very vintage. And I looked at the cap band because typically the brand names are there, which it was, but it was very tiny and it said Aurora. And so I was like, yes, this is Italian. It's an Italian pen. And Kenro Industries is actually at the very front. And so if you go talk to them, they might be able to help you with restoring or fixing an Aurora pen. So yeah, that was also just another nice little moment where I was able to help somebody outside of Leonardo vendoring. So yeah, just those little moments are very precious, and I remember those pretty well. And so I am sorry. I don't remember every single person that I met that where we talked about fountain pens. If I don't remember your name, I truly apologize, but I do remember your face, and I remember the conversations we had. It's just a lot going on in that names. Remembering everybody's names can be a little hard sometimes, right? So, but yeah, I had a great time. And then the two pens that I got from San Francisco. Ooh. So these are the two pens that I got. I mean, I vendored at Leonardo, so I was gonna get a Leonardo pen regardless. Ooh, that looks so pretty in the light. So I saw this pen at the DC Pen Show first. I did not have any money to buy anything there, but I was really interested in this pen because it was sparkling like Rodin and Mother of Pearl, but it could be opal too. There's just so many beautiful colors just coming out of this pen that it's just a very me pen, right? I was very happy that there were like a few of these at the San Francisco Pen Show, and so I got this one. Well, I'll show a little bit more in depth and closer in the overhead shot in a bit. And then I also got this one. It's a lovely, lovely Leonardo pen. It's in the Momento Zero Grande size and shape, but it doesn't have a cap band, which is very interesting. It is also silver trimmed, and it's got the titanium nib, number 8. So I got this pen. Now this isn't mine per se. This is my friend. I was shopping for him because he was messaging me. And so he wanted a number 8 titanium nib on one of the pens, and I chose this pen because I thought it was extremely beautiful, and he loved it too. So I'll be playing with this pen as if it were mine for a little while because I do love my brown pens. And then once I'm done with this one, I'll be sending it off to my friend. And I will talk a little bit more about this pen and the interesting thing I did with it in a bit. So, but yes, these are my 2 Leonardo pens that I got at the San Francisco Pen Show. There were so many amazing pens at the show that I could have gone and I wanted to get, but each one of them were at least between $400 and $700. One very special pen was from Sei Urushi Pen. I've been eyeing a very specific pen from him ever since the Chicago Pen Show. I don't remember if he went to the DC show. Maybe he did, but like I've seen it enough, and every time I see it, I'm just like, one day I might get this. But I have decided to slow down on buying a lot of pens, so I am choosing to be very, very particular and specific with the pens that I choose to buy, and I want them to be very, very beautiful, very meaningful. That typically means it'll be more expensive, and I am okay with buying one very expensive pen for a while over getting multiple pretty beautiful pens. That's kind of where I'm at with fountain pens, and so that's why you only see me with 2 new fountain pens. These are very expensive. This one in a gold nib is $800. So I know that prices have gone up quite a lot, and 2 years ago when I was buying fountain pens, I think the gold nibs, well, my first Leonardo gold nib at San Francisco 3 years ago was $400, but it was number 6 nib. These are number 8 nibs, and so I would understand the price increase anyways. So the prices for number 8 nibs on these pens were $800. Titanium was $500, and then steel, now they offer steel too, which is amazing. Steel nib is $400. So you get this beautiful, amazing body material with a steel nib for $400, which I think is quite amazing, because the steel nibs on the regular resins are about $200 to $250. So I don't mind that type of pricing. I still think Leonardo has really nice, good pricing. It is expensive, but when you just want a really nice, lovely pen, they have good, affordable options. And then the celluloid pens at the Leonardo table were extremely beautiful, but comes with a price tag. So, but all the celluloids sold out, and which is not a surprise, because I think people do love that beautiful material, and it is very rare, and it's also very hard to make. The people of San Francisco, they come there, they know what they want. It's expensive, and they get it because it is, like I said, quality over quantity. So like you choose what makes you happy, and you choose the best of the best. And I do think that Leonardo has very beautiful quality pens that are up there with the best of the best for your money. Yeah, I just wanted to say I had a great, amazing time vendoring at Leonardo, despite the fact that the whole weekend I had a limping leg. The whole weekend I ended up getting a gout flare on my foot, and so I was limping the whole weekend, and it was so painful. But I was just like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna do my best and push through this pain and stand there for 8 hours and talk to people. I did go around the show from time to time and have breaks here and there, but it happened, and it's okay. I got through it. So, all right, well then let's turn the camera over so we can take a look at all these beautiful pens and inks that I got. All right, so I have my Hobonichi plain notebook here. I believe this is the original Tomoe River paper. So I'll just have this so that I can do some writing samples of the pens that I got. But this is my pen that I got at the DC Pen Show. This is the Palisades Akafuji Urushimaki pen. Just look at that beautiful design. Like, it's all handmade, so you can see all the intricate little markings that make this truly a one-of-a-kind handmade pen. There are a few of these that they made, of course. I think there's 33 actually. So I have 3 of 33, which is a great number. Like 333. This, they used like the chinkin powder into the pen, and then coated it with urushi, but also the urushi acts as a glue for the powder to go into the little grooves. So yeah, there's tons and tons of hard labor that goes into these Urushimaki pens, and so I'm just truly grateful to have such a pen in my collection. And then this is the 18-karat Sailor Gold Nib. It's dual-toned, and it's very interesting. It's got the P there for Palisades, This pen has kind of a springy closure, which is nice. So that means it will keep the nib from drying out really well. So let's zoom in there so we can see how this pen writes. Sasha Palisades. It's just so nice and lovely. If you love a very thin nib, Sailor Fine is just so beautiful. When I had some of my friends try this pen, they said that this nib for a fine was very thick. I told them that it is the ink. This is the Montblanc Emerald Green ink, which is typically, which is one of their very few very wet inks, which is one of Montblanc's few super wet inks. Because it was super wet, it made this fine nib much more lubricated and much easier and more beautiful to write with. So I typically like to pair my Sailor nibs with wet inks so that I can still feel the feedback, but it doesn't feel scratchy. I know that a lot of people tend to dislike Sailor nibs because they feel scratchy, and I think that if you put a very dry ink with your Sailor nibs, you will feel that it is scratchy. A great way to avoid that kind of feeling is to pair it with a nice wet ink. So this was, as you could hear from the feedback and just how smoothly it wrote, it's a great ink pairing with this fine nib. All right, so that was my first pen from DC. And then the inks that I got at the DC show is this Papier Plume. I believe this is called Blossoms on the Patame. Yeah, Blossoms on the Patame. If that's not how you say Patame, let me know. But this is such a gorgeous bottle. It looks like everything was, handmade. And also wax sealing the cap. I think it's just a beautiful, lovely touch. I love wax seals, so I enjoy this little detail here. Now this ink is absolutely gorgeous, actually. I think this is my favorite ink out of all the inks that I got in August, but I believe it will be quite a dry ink. So this is how it looks like. It's got kind of iridescent shimmer, but it's mostly silver, which is very, it's not a novel shimmer kind of ink, but this combination is so pretty. It is a very soft lilac-y lavender ink, so that means this can be quite dry. As you can see, this very light passing, but this one was the second passing of ink that I put over, and you can see that it can get pretty nice and dark there, but like not black. So this is a beautiful lilac lavender ink with shimmer and leaning a bit on the pink side. I don't see a lot of blue at all in this purple ink. And then the DC Supershow ink, which was free, is called Foxy, and it is quite a lovely, beautiful spring orange, I would say. Yeah, it does make me think of those tiny little oranges. And it's got silver shimmer, which is quite subtle and nice. This, you can see, is quite thick. I don't know if I just had too much on my nib, but it looks to me like this ink might not be terribly dry. But seeing that the first pass here is quite light and dry, this will probably be a regular flowing ink, I think. And then the last ink that I got, I did not get this at the DC Pen Show. I was in San Jose, and I was at the Mont Blanc shop at the beautiful Valley Fair Mall in San Jose. This is the Great Gatsby Green. It, to me, looks like a very green teal. And it is an interesting ink. It comes down on the paper as a... when it's wet, it is pretty dark. And then when it dries, it is more green than it is teal, which I find really lovely because I do like green a lot. It has this nice blackish red, or at first I thought it was pink. It's probably pink, but it could be red. That was really nice. I did not expect a sheen out of this Mont Blanc ink, but it is a teal ink, and teal inks love to sheen. So only in super wet areas, and I don't typically like super wet pens, so I don't think I'll see this sheen often. However, regardless of whether it's a wet pen or not, I do think that if you see a tiny bit of sheen from this ink, it is going to be lovely. So yeah, I'm very happy with this purchase. It was only $50, and you know, Mont Blanc inks tend to go up to $90 to $150 for the same darn 50 milliliter bottle of ink, because people value it that much because it's limited. But I don't like having to spend that much. So I was very happy to grab one of the last ones there at this shop. On to the next pens at the San Francisco Pen Show. Let's talk about the pens that I got grounded first. I got 2 pen appointments, one with CY, so this is my CY grind. It was actually not really a grind. I just had him fix the grind because to me it felt like the tipping was very architect-like. Like it was too pointy. I wanted something more round and soft, but when CY looked at it, he said it's actually pretty normal, but he grounded it for me to be more what I like. And then he said, you know what? It's actually less rounded and less ball-like now. And so, which I think, now that I understand a bit more, the grind before was too much of a ball. And so not a lot of the tipping was on the paper. And so I think he explained it to me like this. So he was drawing to me that here's the nib. And this was the ball of my pen, and so touching the paper, it was just a small part of the ball, but then he grinded it to where it would look something like this. Less of a ball, but there's more touching the surface of the paper, which, you know, is what I want. It felt too slippery when it was like this. And so he grinded it down a bit like this. And so now my extra fine is perfect. I don't feel weird writing with it anymore like I used to when it wasn't like a ball. So Aurora, Cremona. Yeah, I do think something is going on with the Aurora nibs these days. They are too smooth. I mean, they're much smoother than before with less of that feedback. And a lot of the nibs at Aurora, they just go through quality control without really making sure that the nib is perfect. So it's a bit of a shame, but I do think that some people like the more smoother nibs that Aurora's come out with. I prefer them a little bit more feedbacky. For an extra fine, this was way too smooth, but CY made it just how I like it. So thank you, CY. And then these 2 nibs, I barely use this one much. This is my Platinum Century 3776, Shape of Heart, the Bluebird. Absolutely beautiful pen. It was a medium, and I always love platinum mediums, but for some reason this one was either too thick or I was just not vibing with it. But I had Gina turn this into a journaler. I kept saying to my friends that if I could turn all my pens to journalers, I would, and that would be my go-to nib. So I had this medium grounded to, I guess, like a medium-ish journaler. It's so beautiful. So nice. I love the sizing of this medium, and because it's a journaler now, it just makes my writing look so much better, makes me happier, and so then I feel like I want to write with it more. Yeah, so journalers have a thicker downstroke than the cross-stroke, but they're relatively similar. So it is a very forgiving stub. Oh no, not a stub. It's a very forgiving type of cursive smooth italic. So it's less sharp, but definitely enough variation in lines that you can see that this writing is different from that one up there. Yeah, so that is my new medium platinum journaler. The next one actually could have been problematic, but it wasn't. This is my very first Leonardo. This is the Parisa Maldives, one of my very favorite Leonardos, and I always will love looking at this pen because it is very green. Yeah, it is quite green with all the gold glitters all over, and there's enough white in here to kind of contrast, make it softer than just a pure tealish green pen. Well, I say teal, but this is I'm not quite sure what you would call this, because teal is very dark. This is more of like a very bright teal. Okay, so my original nib in here was an elastic fine steel. Yeah, so there's the F, elastic, and it is kind of bouncy, slightly bouncy, and it was just way too thick for my liking now. I prefer something a lot thinner nowadays. And so I just had Gina grind this to another journaler. I probably should have had Gina grind it down to like fine, because elastic fine is really thick. So this is the Leonardo. Elastic journaler. Yes, that is beautiful. I have my favorite ink in here, which is Tokyo Bay Blue. I always think Tokyo Bay Blue looks beautiful from my pens that tend to be this bright teal. You can see it's a little bit greener than this ink up here, which is Bungabox June Bride, which is a lovely kind of like, I would say like a sky blue. Yeah. So those are my two beautiful journaler grinds. Wow. Yeah, I love journalers. Who else loves journaler nibs? Let me know. But yeah, now I will finally love writing with these two pens again. I've always loved writing with this pen, but like I said, I wanted something thinner nowadays, and so I wanted to like put the perfect nib grind into my very first Leonardo, and it is a winner. All right, now on to the new pens, the two new Leonardo pens. Oh my god. Okay, let's start with my friend's pen here. It is this beautiful, gorgeous a brown, like coffee type of pen. You can see that it's got the lovely amber brown. It is a nice bronzy shimmer and chatoyance going on there, along with the white and the dark brown. It's quite a lovely, lovely mix. So again, this one doesn't have a cap band, so it's very minimalist. I think that's what they call this one. It is an internal piston filler, so you can see there, the ring there separates the back finial here. And then the titanium nib, he chose a fine. Let's see, so yeah, this is the titanium nib. Titanium nibs are very, very soft. They have a lot of flex to them, but do not, and I repeat, do not flex your titanium nibs. Kirk told us that. Kirk Spear. So while they do have a lot of give and a lot of flex or softness, it's better to not do that so that you don't splay your tines or like spread them too much. So let me just pick out an ink. I believe I was using my new Bunga Box June Bride something blue. Just dip test it. This is the Leonardo. Titanium fine. So, okay, that's better. Yeah, so I think like depending on your angle, it could be scratchy, but for the most part, if I keep the nib the same angle every time, it is quite smooth now, which is very nice. Titanium nibs, I find that my other titanium nib tends to be a little scratchy too, so I'll probably have to do some work on that one. But it's so nice. And yeah, it does have a little bit of variation because you can push this nib. I wouldn't push it too much. Okay, now let's move on to my pen. I don't know what this one's called. I asked Clarissa, she did not give me a name, so these are really truly one-offs. I do feel like this could be opal material, because opal can become various colors like this, but then I don't think it's mother of pearl. Mother of pearl doesn't have yellow typically, so, but I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you know what this material is. But I'm just calling this my rainbow opal pen because it's got so many different colors. You can see that it's got green, blue, pinkish purple, and this blue also has a little bit of purple in there, and yellow. I think it's just so beautiful. This material is kind of translucent, I think. Let's see. No, it's not as translucent as I thought it would be. Yeah. I think that the gray material here is very thick, so it's not as translucent, which is not bad, but you can see kind of here in the chatoyant parts that you can kind of see through it. So the chatoyant parts are a little bit translucent. Oh man, I could just look at this for hours and go out and, you know, if you go outside, let the sunlight shine on this pen, it would be such a beauty to look at. So this pen is originally and is rose gold, which I love. I love, love, love. But I got this with the number 8 steel nib, which I wanted to try out. The gold nib would be $800, so I decided to go with the $400 steel, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay. All right, so we'll dip it into one of my new inks. This is Juho Amethyst. The feed on these new Leonardo pens are ebonite, and you can see the feed here is extremely different from the feeds in the past from Leonardo pens. It's very streamlined. It will hold on to the ink much better, so there'll be less burping. I think Leonardo did a great job in redesigning ebonite feeds for their number 8 fountain pens. Yes, I love it so much. It writes so nice, and there is some flex to the steel nib. Not flex, but there's some soft bounce to it because it's such a big nib. So let me test how much give it can do. Okay. Not a lot of line variations, but it is a little soft. Just the tiniest bit of softness. It's still a little stiff, but I love this number 8 steel. So initially this nib had a little bit of singing to it, but I think that's because I had a very wet ink in it, but that could also be the paper. There's no singing on this Tomoe River paper, which, come on, it's Tomoe River paper. It's always great. So yes, that is my lovely new Leonardo pen in a steel nib with rose gold hardware. Just, oh, so beautiful. Here are the rest of the inks that I got from San Francisco Pen Show. I got Ferriswheel Press Lanterns Crossing. I think this is a gorgeous reddish orange ink. It is one of their smaller 20 milliliter bottle. It's still very nice. I got this from Drawn Ghouls for $19. Not bad. And then I also got the Bunga Box June Bride Something Blue. Again, this one, this color is quite different on different papers. It looked a lot greener in Bunga Box's paper. It's quite blue on this Wingill paper. And then it looked a little bit sky blue once it came out of a pen. So the color is a little bit different all throughout, but this is my yearly Bunga Box ink from San Francisco Pen Show. I do love this color, so very happy with that. They are just too expensive. $35. I don't know if there's a cheaper way or less expensive way to get Bunga Box online or straight from Japan, but who knows? If you know, let me know. And then I also got the Hachimanjia Juyo Amethyst ink. You can see there, it's got lots of blues and pink chroma shading going on there. Absolutely beautiful ink. Cute little bottle. This one was, I believe, $18. I think it's 20 milliliters too. And then Charisse got me this beautiful Bunga Box. It's like a grayish purple, so dusty purple ink called Sakana Machi Horoyoi. This one was actually supposed to pair with this pen, which I think is a perfect pairing because it matches the body quite well. But we got it in a tiny sample bottle, and this is an internal piston filler, so it's not going to fit in there. I barely got any on the nib to write with the other day, but I do love this. However, another ink that I got, which was, I think, also very perfect pairing, is this mystery purple ink. I got this ink from a lovely person that came over to our table and just gifted this to me. It's this gorgeous cherry blossom embroidery or plushie here, and it also has the cherry blossom charms. So I am so sorry for forgetting your name, but if you are watching this video, please let me know down in the comments so that I know where this came from, and so I can let people know where to get these. It looks like these are handmade and you probably sell them as well, but I am so grateful for this gift because I love cherry blossoms. So this was so nice. But this mystery purple ink came with it. I think it's so amazing. I love the way it chroma shades a bit into this lovely light pink with purple haloing. Truly gorgeous ink. Whatever it is, I need a full bottle of this. I was stupid to not read what the name was, but by the time I got home, the ink had spilled a little bit, and so it smeared onto the name, and I could not read what the name of this ink is. So please, please, please let me know what this ink is so that I can let everybody know and I can find it for myself, because I want this ink in here. All right. So that concludes all of my inks and my pens, my haul from the San Francisco Pen Show. I had such an amazing time there this year. It was so wonderful to have met so many new friends and old friends, and spending time after the Pen Show, it was just amazing. So I will say that San Francisco is an amazing show that I will always be going back to. So if you missed me this year, please book your next flight to San Francisco next year, and I will see you in San Francisco 2026. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.